This episode is brought to you by Mortgage Workflow Partners and the Mastering Encompass series, both for users as well as administrators. You can find out all the information about it over at masterengencompass.com. Also, if you'd like to check out what we're doing on YouTube, go ahead and subscribe to the channel using the @MasteringEncompass handle. And make sure you stay up to date on all the information, not just with podcasts, but also video content that we bring to you as often as possible. Now let's get on to the episode.
Hey everyone, Larry Bailey, Mortgage Workflow Partners. We are Mastering Encompass on these live events. Today's Thursday's live event. I'm in Oahu. I was going to try and do it from outside because it's a beautiful sunrise, because it's only 7 o'clock a.m. where I am. So I'll send you pictures. If you have any place that you'd love to see, like, I don't know, a live shot of anything from Oahu, or you have any questions about Oahu, if you want to know how you can make it out here on the cheap and have a great vacation, let me know. We've been coming out here for 15 years. I have the fortune enough to spend time with one of my daughters, Anna. She actually runs our marketing team at Mortgage Workflow Partners. So pretty much if you see, me posting stuff, it's probably her, trying to help promote the company and stuff like that. So let's see what's going on with chat. We got a live volcano. I'm not going to the Big Island, Amy, but you could probably Google that. You could probably YouTube that or something like that. I had a chance to see a live volcano. I had a chance to see a live volcano when I went to Iceland last year, but it's like a 5-hour hike in the rain, up mud, one way, and I wasn't doing that. So maybe next time. Amy, if you come out to Hawaii, and maybe we can do like a Mastering Encompass live from the volcano, that would be cool. That would be cool. Anyway, so today we're going to talk about checklists, and I made kind of a snarky response that checklists are a 1999 thing. I was kind of riffing on Prince's, Party Like It's 1999, in case you missed that. And I want to talk about this. So again, group participation. Before I get there, anyone have any questions? Again, I can take you in. You can come up on and talk or video, or you can chat, whatever you're comfortable with. But the point of these events every Tuesday and Thursday is really to be collaborative. Although I like having topics to talk about, so we get something on the books that we accomplished and that we can share and go back to. This is really all about you. This is really all about making sure your questions are getting answered. So with that, I don't see anything in the chat, and I don't see anybody raising their hand or anything like that to come on. So I guess we'll get over into the topic, which is document checklists. As always, though, if you have any questions about anything that's going on, just shout it out here. So checklist, this is my environment, and this is the typical kind of checklist that I see and have seen, certainly not since '99, because Encompass didn't, did it exist? No, it didn't really exist yet till, there's still debate. I still think it's 2005, but some people are debating it was 2006. And in any event, this input form that you see here is just a typical example of a document checklist. You can think about any kind of checklist. And the part that I always challenge administrators and companies in their workflow is, why does this exist? And so typically the responses that I hear are, well, we want to make sure things are done, or it's a training aid. I want to make sure somebody doesn't forget what they're supposed to do. In very limited cases, it's used for auditing. So in other words, it's a QC checklist kind of a that comes up. And so people want to make sure that they have something in the file that's documented, to which I say, first of all, an input form checklist does not equal an output form checklist. So if you create an input form that's a checklist like we see on screen here, and you want that to go into the E folder, then you have to create a print form, which means you've got to go through and obviously replicate the data. So sorry, current time is good. Oh, guys, you guys are multitasking on that thread. Thank you for that feedback on that. in the event, you know, question, like, you know, when I talked about this topic, you know, this was brought up by, I think it was Angela, who is not here. That's a shame. Does anybody else use checklists like this in their workflow? And I want this to be, again, a good, solid conversation. You know, convince me why these are a good idea for you and your workflow. You do, okay. Oh, you're here, Angela. Great. Can you come up? Do you want to, Brett? You know, anybody else? Does anybody want to come up on and talk about it? I don't know how to tell other than a chat. So if you want to come up and talk about it, let me know. I'll bring you up on stage, and we can do that together, because I really want to understand. You know me. I'm always about workflow first, and if this is truly benefiting the workflow for you, I want to understand it more. So Angela, I'll bring you up on stage, and I think it's something I can do. And let's see, invite as a speaker. So you should be getting a little pop-up on your computer, and then hopefully it'll let you come in as another speaker. Hopefully you'll go through the permissions. So Kristen says we do, but it also has fields for reference and team and items that can be completed directly in the checklist. Cool. Angela.
Hi, how are you?
Great. Thanks for jumping on stage. So so tell me more about the reason why you want to talk about this.
Oh gosh, so this has been a big deal for us. Our CEO has tasked us all with going through each department, including the e-disclosures, to make sure that we haven't missed anything, because the mortgage industry does not allow for any margin of error. And so, you know, we get fined, or we get written up, or we get a loan that is not purchased, which is terrible. If even one document, it is not there. So that's the motivation behind creating a whole bunch of checklists. And I'm working on the e-disclosures right now. And so that's why they want to do it. And Encompass does not have a good way inherently to take a fixed list of required disclosures. And we're talking per program, per occupancy, per state. And then take that fixed list and cross-reference it with what did go out, and then alert the user that something did not go. Okay. I have a really good example that we found that's not documented in Encompass, and that is, if you do not have a mortgage that is in your REO section not assigned to a property, your 1003 will not go out.
Sure.
Yes. And we had that happen. So that's the motivation behind it. And there's just really isn't a good way that's provided by ICE to do that.
Okay. So thank you for that. And Brett kind of put a note in the chat here also about, it's usually from the business execs. So my question to you is, when you go through here, first of all, Encompass does let you have granular tracking of documents that are in the Encompass, that are actually created in the document setting. So
yes.
you can have a status check, an input form that shows the status of the document, whether it's been requested or received.
Yes.
So have you looked? So here's the reason why I'm asking. This is the reason for my position on checklists. Because to me, they're akin to tasks. The thing with tasks yes. and checklists is that you're asking a human to interact with the input form in a way to acknowledge what they've either done or what they've visually confirmed.
Yes.
And if we know that part, and we know that the only way for them to visually confirm is that they've reviewed a field, whether it's for completeness or for specific value, or they reviewed a e-folder document for receipt of a file, albeit might not be correct, which is a different kind of twig off that branch.
Yes.
The idea is, if the checklist is meant to do these kinds of things that are either present or validated by data or present in the e-folder as a file, then what you're really talking about is a business rule. And the problem with having that agreement is it doesn't give constructive notification in a print form to say, I certify all this stuff has been done. So, is that really, are you hitting this spot in your particular case, Angela? And it sounds like, Brett, you're hitting this also, was what you're trying to accomplish an output form that basically is like a person, putting their name on the dotted line saying, yes, all this stuff is true.
Yes.
Is that really what it's at?
It really is. It is all about accountability. So if a loan isn't sold or something goes wrong, where do we need to go back to and fix that process or do some retraining? And what we found this morning is you're absolutely right. What you see there on the screen, that document checklist, I mean, we can put that in tasks at different milestones, no doubt. But what I was having trouble with is the actual buckets in the e-folder and initial disclosures. Having that fixed list to compare and contrast what actually went out, that I don't believe I can handle in the milestone worksheets in that upper left-hand quadrant, the documents.
The documents, yeah, you can.
Right? It doesn't tell me what didn't go out.
Well, actually, so here, and it's a little bit unintuitive, but for those that don't know this, you can go into, if you go into your docs setup and you go into your e-disclosure stacking templates as an example, and if I go into any one that you want, and you can look at which e-disclosures were returned. If you haven't done this already, and you need to track something, remember that you can always create a document with this exact naming convention as a document in your e-folder setup area. And you can actually then have all of the tracking that you want in your loan file, whether it be a requirement for a milestone completion or a requirement for a field data entry rule or whatever. The challenge is most people don't do that. Most administrators get stuck in this thing, well, it's an EDS document and therefore I can't do anything with it, to which I say, you're missing a little bit of a step. If you create a document with the exact same naming convention as an EDS, you will actually be able to do the things that you're trying to do. Have you ever done that?
Okay, this is very helpful. I'm very familiar with stacking templates for shipping, for investors, FHA, and all that good stuff. But this takes it a step forward, a step further for me.
Yeah. So where I always find folks, again, and it's especially important for state-specific disclosures, like critically important, because we don't know as admins, like we're not compliance people, right? It's pretty rare that we're compliance experts and Encompass admins or executives or wherever the hell we are. But the point is that the EDS document name comes from ICE. And if that CA space machine space copy space notice with the proper capitalization is not existing in the e-folder as a document, then the problem is that you can't do anything with it administratively. But if you create a document, if I close out of here, and you just go into e-folder setup and go into documents, and then you simply create a needed document with the exact same naming convention, now you can do it.
Okay, awesome. Oh, that's very helpful.
Yeah, that's the way that as an admin, you're able to kind of end around, because to Encompass, it's just an object. And if the same, I don't know if you guys have ever had this, but anybody ever had the situation where you've got a document and a milestone completion rule, and then down the road, you get some kind of ticket that says, hey, I can't finish this milestone because this document keeps repeating itself.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because somebody created another one of those documents in the file after that milestone was finished. And so Encompass sees the same document as not being received. And so it's going to kick back a business rule that document needs to be received. And so what I'm trying to explain in this analogy is that Encompass simply sees, does the document exist, yes or no? And you can't have it exist in your settings unless you create it here. So theoretically, if I could wave a magic wand, and this would be a terrible example because you would never want to do it, but if I could create every EDS print form as a document to match the names in a special place that I could call for business rules, that would be ideal, because then I could always say, listen, for California or for Texas or for New York, I want these documents to always be received before I'm allowing my file to go to underwriting. I'm making something up. So in your case, Angela, and for anybody else, if you're getting snagged on, did we receive this document, and it's an EDS print form, just go into your stacking template, grab the EDS side document name from here, and just create that as a document, and then make your business rule accordingly.
Okay.
Is that making sense?
It does. What I'm imagining right now is having someone look in the e-folder, pick the just say e-disclosures stacking list, whatever custom name I gave it. And then we should see all of those buckets, and the ones that actually went out, I guess, would have a date beside it.
Yeah, it'd be requested. So your status of that document would be requested.
Would be requested, and then the others wouldn't be.
Correct. Yeah.
So that actually, I can visualize that as being extremely helpful.
And to John Krasnowski just said in chat, again, this is Encompass, right? So it's all about testing, ensuring, and having layered backups. So this is not like a bulletproof silver bullet magic fix.
Yeah, no doubt. There's,
it could be that the character naming is slightly off. It could be like the one I'm highlighting on screen right now has a special character in it, which is a /.
Yes.
Anytime, so the challenge is it's a way. And when we got on this little rabbit hole based upon a document checklist, and is this document received? So the idea is there are ways to go beyond somebody physically saying, did we receive it? If it's a field, obviously you can do field level data validation on that. And it's just, I want to make sure that when we talk about checklists, going back to how I started this conversation today, if I look at this like signed credit inquiry letter, there's nothing other than OCR that could actually verify if the credit inquiry letter has been signed. That's it. And so do we want to make sure it's correctly signed? Like, do we, how do we address that? Most recent pay stubs, 30 consecutive days. Again, I don't know if this means that it's been validated or if it's just been received.
Right.
So these are the things where when you talk about like what's been going on here in chat, and everybody, thank you very much for chatting it up in here. So, sometimes like Amy was saying, it was a way to remind people what to do. Kim had said earlier that, you need transparency in the file to see what's been done, those kinds of things. I want to make sure that, this kind of conversation is really when you're being told by your execs that you need a checklist, typically that's because that's what they were used to. If you've been lending long enough like me, which is since '93, this is when we had paper files. This is when we had ACO clips and you had manila files and everybody had rubber fingertips because otherwise your fingers would get cut because you're working in paper all day.
Right.
The idea that we're now electronic 30 years later and we're still using paper checklists just in an electronic form is a representative of why a lot of people think Encompass is an arcane platform, that there's other modern lending LOSs. I got news for you. I'm implementing a lending pad with a client right now on a banker side. And the truth of it is, Encompass has a lot of features that lending pad just doesn't. And so what a lot of people fall back on is because they look at this desktop client and all the things that it looks like it's from 2005, because it is. But the reality is, everybody on this call, 21 participants, plus myself, we all find ways that we do have to walk 6 miles both ways, Chris. So we find ways to kind of satisfy what our businesses ask for, and to make sure that we're doing CYA, and to make sure that our team members have a way to document what they say they did. To which I would say, gang, if, at the bottom, does everybody do this too, where they do a completed button? And that creates basically, these are audit fields, right? So completed by, and then completed on.
Yes.
So the part that I would kind of fall back on is if you're really looking, a lot of people in chat say, hey, they want like auditing, or they want the ability to say that somebody's completed this checklist. I would, if that's really the intent here, I actually, in my world, I'd actually have an audit for each one of these. Because I want to make sure I know, well, when did you hit this drop down? And when did, and who did that?
Absolutely.
So
the audit fields are awesome.
Yeah. I mean, and it doesn't have to be in the audit trail. It can just be 2 additional audit fields here for who modified this last. The other thing that's important here is that, oh yeah, and Brett, yeah, Brett's no joke. Like, he's made an audit on that part. So that's really, so Angela, is there any questions you want to ask the group while you're here that we didn't already talk about? I don't know if you're watching the chat too.
I am watching the chat as well. No, I think I'm all set. I'm going to look more into doing this stacking list, because the only other way to do this would be, and this is for e-disclosures, not for processes. It's through the SDK, and looping through the collection and then cross-reference it with a fixed list. So I think this might be a really, really good solution to use the stacking template.
Yeah, it's a hard one. It's a brass ring that a lot of companies look for. If you guys have not, I'm going to give a shout out to Chris Mace for a second. If you guys have not seen Chris's workflow product, not to be confused with Mortgage Workflow Partners, but it just, he built a product. Basically, it's a set of input forms. They're called workflows, and what they do is they take away the need for a checklist, because they loop through and do the kind of thing that you were just describing, Angela, with always looking to see if a document was received or if a field has a specific value. Chris could speak to it way more, and maybe we'll bring him on one of these coming up. We're probably going to run out of time for July, but for August, certainly. But it's really a slick platform. So if your company is still struggling with people not filling in fields properly, and you're tired of writing rule after rule after rule with no visualizer, like, you got to go check out what Chris Mace over at Mace Innovations has done with his workflow product. Like, truly, it's unique, and it does solve for what's going on. If you're worried about the web version, I respect that worry, but right now we got to worry about desktop. Sure. Definitely, on this topic, it's not like you shouldn't have checklists. My thing is, make sure that the checklist is not making somebody do something you can already do for them. So if it's a document or if it's a field, and you're looking for them to, like, AUS run, I know if the AUS is run. I have AUS tracking. Yes. You know what I mean? Yes. Like, all of these are, tax transcripts, CAVers, fraud report, phone ID validation. That might be something that you have to do because you need to, if it's self-employed, you got to look it up on Google, and you got to do those kinds of things. But now, where's the document in my world? Where's the document if you had to go to Google to take that screenshot, that kind of a thing. So,
Sure.
you know, that's kind of why I thought this was a great topic, because everybody uses them. I've got strong opinions, like always, about when something should be used. And as long as you go through those steps, great. As long as you've thought it through, awesome. I just want to make sure everybody's thinking through them.
Yeah. Larry, who was that again? Is Chris Mace? What is his company?
Yeah, so here, I'll bring it up on screen.
Okay.
Mace Innovations. If I could type, I promise I would do it. Wait, Mace Innovations. So it's this right here, automation tools for Encompass.
Perfect.
Yeah, and it's like it's not free, right? But I would encourage you to check it out, and just like anything else, just like, you know, like Kinsey May does with their cost of clicks kind of a thing, and Lender Toolkit does with their automation everything. This is all what his stuff is all about. Is you're in Encompass, keep the focus in Encompass, visualize what's missing. The way he created the business rule tool is like nothing else. Business rules fire immediately, even if you make an update on the fly. You know, he's figured out some really cool ways to exploit work paths within Encompass. And so yeah, check it out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. This
Yeah,
has been
Angela, no, thanks
excellent.
for the topic. Yeah, this has been really, really cool. Wait, Luba's adding something here. I know I'm late to the party, but we had a checklist for internal disclosures and check those. Wait, and to make sure we had what we needed, and it will automatically check those items. Yeah, it's exactly what I'm talking about, Luba. So effectively, the fields here are more like, you know, if the document's received, mark it as received. Now you can do that with a drop down. Personally, I prefer a document checklist to include for the name of the document, and if it's been requested and if it's been received, and then a link to the document for that. So.
Right. Do you mind if I ask, Luba, so how did you guys implement that? So you said for our initial disclosures to make sure we had what we needed, and it will auto check those items in the E folder.
Luba, you're good with microphones usually. Do you want to just come on and talk it through? Okay. All right, let me see. Let me bring you up on invite as a speaker. It's the first time we've had more than 2 people. So Luba, you'll be the first thruple on our Mastering Encompass Live Events Thursday. Congratulations. Okay.
So basically what we did was we had a paper checklist that had all the initial disclosures that we're supposed to get back. And we just had that built into an input form with check boxes. And then, so when the e-folder documents come back, if they're marked as received, then the checkbox check as done.
Yeah.
And then anything that was missing at that point would then just highlight so that it's easier for our setup crew to go through and say, oh, okay, I'm missing this document. Let me make sure it didn't get lost, didn't get scanned. Maybe it couldn't auto-assign it, whatever.
That is perfect. Do you mind my asking, did you have just a really extensive list? How did you handle things like, you know, if the state is California, then I need these, but if it's any other state, I don't?
We basically had to have a checklist for each state we're in and each conventional FHA VA, and then it just auto applies to the file based on the parameters of the file.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you so
much. Did you create a single input form with a panel that updated based upon the state?
Yeah, they're different panels, and I can't take credit. I didn't create it. Kenzie made it for us, but
it's easy. If anybody ever needs help
but it
with
is
how to do that, it's very easy.
I've learned a lot from our engagement with Kenzie May on how to work with panels and all of that, so I could probably build that myself now, but this was the beginning of our engagement.
That's excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. That's very helpful.
Yeah, a great topic, Angela. Thank you, Luba, for sharing your stuff. And thanks everybody for chatting along. If anybody has any last thoughts, comments, feel free to post them out. As always, I try to keep these things on time with a half an hour. I did put the list of the upcoming topics to keep everybody on track. We're still meeting at the normal times, 4 o'clock on Tuesdays, 1 o'clock on Thursdays. Again, sorry for the confusion, Chris. I totally get why there's confusion. We're not making any changes yet. I was just looking for feedback because sometimes Thursdays are not 21 folks. And so if this time works out and continues to work out, no changes are necessary. Again, if anybody has any special requests from Oahu, sorry, no volcanoes out in Oahu, Amy, maybe next time. Let me know, and we'll be over here on Tuesday at 4 o'clock for the next one. Thanks, guys, for helping promote the community. I know, I'm sorry, Amy. Lunch and Learn with Larry. I like that. Okay, let's keep it. So you guys have an awesome day, have an awesome weekend, and any questions at all, you know me, ask away. I'd be glad to help anytime I can. I love that emoji, Lou, but where the hell did you find that emoji? That's awesome. All right, guys. Have a great rest of your day. Food vlogs, yeah, maybe. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Janet.
All right, see you, Angela. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.
All right, bye-bye now.
Bye.